Okay, so the first concept is the Python comments. So comments and comments ಯಾವ ತರ ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಸೊ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಕಮೆಂಟ್ ಹೇಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಸೊ ಕಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎರಡು ಇದೆ, ಒಂದು ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಲೈನ್ ಕಮೆಂಟ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮಲ್ಟಿಪಲ್ ಲೈನ್ ಕಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಯೂಶಲಿ ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಲೈನ್ ಕಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ನ ಹ್ಯಾಶ್ ಇಂದ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ನೀವು ಸಿ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮಿಂಗ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ 2 ಸತಿ ಸ್ಲಾಶ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರಿ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಮಲ್ಟಿಪಲ್ ಲೈನ್ ಕಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ನ ಈ ತರ 3 ಡಬಲ್ ಕೋಟ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, 3 ಡಬಲ್ ಕೋಟ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ ಎಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಈ within this 3 double quotes we can put whatever the string or whatever the content we want, we can put it. So pycharm open ಮಾಡೋಣ. Okay, so first I will explain why the main thing, why the comments will be useful, how it will be useful in the real-time software development. Okay, for example, I will give you an example. So when you are developing some code, so that time when you are developing some logic also, some business logic or whatever, some logic you are developing. For example, you are developing a logic for sorting the numbers. So if there is in the array, there is a some random numbers has been given in that array. So you wanted to sort that from ascending or in a descending order, you want to sort that numbers. So that time, so whatever the logic if you put by using that variable, declaring the variable and conditional statements and for loop, so that logic nobody will understand easily. Okay, they can understand, but they have to be check your code properly to understand exactly what you are doing. So that's why, so instead of that, so if you give just a one line comment, so this below code is used to this below code is developed for sorting the numbers from ascending in ascending order or in descending order. So like that, if you give the comment, so even if you give to the some any other developer to continue for that same source code to develop it, so that time he will understand just by reading that one line comment, he will understand that so this code is being developed to sort the numbers for ascending. Okay, so otherwise he has to spend lot of time to understand whatever you have developed. So that is the major use of these comments. So when you are compiling the code, so the computer will not consider these comments lines as a code. Okay, this is just a content. So this is just for the purpose of the developers. Okay, this is no use for any end users. So end users means whatever you have developed the software, the end users, those who will use that software, for them there will be no use of these comments. We can't give any output for end users. So this is just for the reference for the developers. So this is the best practice. If you are a good software developer, you should follow this practice because it will be very useful. So to make it as a code documentation, that also call it as a code documentation. So if your code is completely documented, so then anybody can able to understand your source code and anybody can able to implement your code. For example, if you can see any software company, the peoples will be keep changing the companies. So it means that somebody is working in a project for 1 year, so then he will change the company to another company, so then they will make a replacement. When he wants to change the company, they will bring a new developer. So that developer has to be understand whatever you have developed. So that's why whatever you maintain the comments, so then easily the new developer will understand that your code to redevelopment or to implement a new feature for that same source code. Okay, yesterday we have set up the environment. Also, we have configured the run, and we have configured for the debugging tool. So also we tested the debugger. Okay, so we can put the breakpoint at in the any number any line, and when we execute this debugger, so when the execution will comes to that line, so in that line the execution will stop. So till that line, so whatever the variable values and everything, it will show. Okay. For example, now I give you one single line comment. This file is for okay, just I given the one line comment. So then now I will execute the code. So there is no any effect of this comment. Okay. So if we don't use this hash, so if we execute this, so it will throw the error. So because that is not understanding whatever I have written. Okay, there should be a keywords for every string. Otherwise, it should be a variable. We should declare that. We should use it in a proper way. So we should follow all the coding concepts, means syntax. So we should follow all the syntax of the programs. So now there is no error. So this is, we call it as a single line comment. And now we'll check with the multi-line comment. So for multi-line comments, we need to use the 3 double quotes. So within the 3 double quotes, whatever we want, we can enter. So usually what we do, so when we are developing any source code, and for example, I am working in this main.py file. So usually I give author as my name. This file is Python practice, something like this. And also we can put this code copyrights. So if you take any of the source code in any standard projects, so usually in the beginning of the file, they use this multiple lines of code, multiple lines comments. So in this comment, they use the author. So author means those who are developing that code in that file. So they will put their developer name, and also they will completely describe what they exactly what they're doing in this Python file. And also they put the copyrights and any license for this source code. If anybody get this code also, they should not use the code, because this is having a license. Because if you are developing some logic, and if you are developing some project, so that code is developed by you, so you will not give it as a free of cost. So that time we will make it as a software license. So this is just for code reference only. So without this also we can develop the code and we can execute it. So but this is the actual industry standards they will maintain. So even I can show some example code. Those who developed the very big projects. So how they have maintained the. So anybody know about the GitHub tool? So GitHub is just a code repository. Code repository means it will store all the source code also with all the versionings. Just add one single line comment. So this is developed by Chinese. So that's why they are using some Chinese language in the comments. So these are the two comments they are using. Also here they are using the multi-line comment. So as you told, they are mentioning the author, Guan. So this code is developed by Guan. And also they are just mentioning the GitHub link. So GitHub means that is the source code where they are maintaining the project source code. And this is they are mentioning the date. So when is the date they have created and when is the last edited time, date and time. So this is the last edited date and time. So they will only mention that date when they are going to change this file. So that time they will add this data. So they have not added the licensing and all those things. So that is depend upon company or our purpose. We can put any type of content. So these comments are doesn't matter for the code. So these are all the actual source code. So like this in current, if you go to any company, so all the peoples will maintain these types of comments. So that's why comment is the one of the important thing, even if it is that doesn't execute any, that doesn't give any output also, but this is just for the reference for the developers. So now we just use this thing. I will execute the code. So even these comments has been not affected anything to the application. It has been given the output only. These two lines is been executed. Okay, even if in the breakpoint also we can't put here because this does not consider as a code. So we can put the breakpoint only for these two lines. So even for the single line comment also we can't put the breakpoint. Any question, any doubt in this? So even here they have used the single quote 3 times. So we can use a single quote also. But we should end with same single quote only. So we can make a comment with the 3 single quote or 3 double quotes. Okay, so this is the comments. This is the main use of multiple line comments and single line comments in the programming, not only in Python. So in if you take any programming language, so there will be a comments. Okay, so next concept is the variables. So what is variable? So you can just tell me the general thing, what is variable? Not about the programming related variable. So in generally, can you tell the what is variable?
Variables are fixed value, they do not change.
No, variables means it's variable. It can change. Constants are the value once we declared, so it will be constant. It will not change. Constant means that is the meaning. So even if we check normal English, so variable means not consistent or having a fixed pattern, liable to change. The quantity of hospital good is high variable. So variable means it will be keep varying. It means it's not constants. It will be varying. Okay. So in Python, creating a variable, it's very simple. We just have to give the variable name and we have to give the value. Okay, to assign the value, we should use the single equal. So whatever the value we are giving, whatever the value we are mentioning on the right side, so it will store that value in the variable name. So this is just a name, but the actual value will be stored 5. Okay, for example, if you want to store the 5 in the variable x, so we have to declare like this. So let's declare one variable x equals to 5. This will give 50. So variable names is completely defined by the developer. Okay, developer means those who are doing the coding. So he can give whatever the name he want. So depend upon the coding he can give. For example, even I can give my name itself. So this is the variable name. Okay, so this contains 50, the value 50. So in general, if I want to say, so my name is Harsha. Okay, so to call me, everybody will say Harsha. But if they want to check my degree, I have completed Bachelor of Engineering. Okay, that is the value. But when the people are calling me, so they will not call the value. So just they will call my name. Okay, but inside the variable, the value will be stored. So in the computer also, so when you declare one variable, so it will create a memory in the RAM. I think everyone aware of that RAM. So it's a random access memory. Okay, whenever we are executing the program, so whatever the variables we declare, so it will going to create that variable in the random access memory in the computer. So not only in the computer, if you take a mobile, if you take a TV, whatever the electronic devices which runs as a CPU, so everything it maintains as a RAM. In the RAM, it will store the variable values. Okay, variable name is just like a reference. So the value will be stored in this variable. So now I will just print that variable. Now if I execute, so I can able to see the value it is printing 15. It is not printing my name. It is printing the value stored in the variable. Okay, but if you give it is in a double quote, so it is just like a string. So it is not the variable. Even if you execute, it will just print my name. So let's delete these two lines. Okay, it's printing my name. So when you are mentioning the variable, so you should call that variable name. So then it will print the value stored in this variable. It will not print that name itself. It will print only the value stored in the variable. So now let's debug the code. So I just put a breakpoint here. So I run the debugging tool. So the code has been stopped here. So now I will go to the step over to the next line. So once I step over, so the variable has been created. So this is the variables it is showing. So this is the Harsha variable name, and this is the type. So what is the type of the variable? That is the integer type. So because I am storing the integer value. So that's why it is showing the value is 15. So once it is step over, so this is the last line. So the code is been stopped. So even it is printing the value as a 15. So now if I give the floating value 15.34, so the code has been stopped here. So the till here the variable will not create in the RAM. Okay, only once that line is executed, then only it will create the space in the RAM and it will store that value. Whatever we are assigning by using the single equal, so it will store that value. So now I just step over the code. So now we can able to see Harsha float 15.34. So float means it is the data type. So 15.34 is the value. Okay, this is the integer float we have tested. So let's check with the string also. So when we want to store the string, we should mention within the double quote. So I just mentioned as the Harsha HS. So once I execute, it is printing the Harsha HS. So let's debug that code. So once we step over, so then we can able to see the variable Harsha. This is the type string and the value is Harsha HS. So like this is a very simple. We no need to mention what is the type of the variable, nothing. So I think in C programming, we used to learn the data types, integer data type, float data type, character data type, all those things. So whatever we want to mention, so we used to use the keyword int or float. So like this, we used to mention the data types. Okay. So, but in Python, it is very simple way. We don't need to mention any data type of the variable. So we just need to store the value. So what type of value we store, that type of variable it will become. So for example, if I am storing a string value, so this variable will become a string data type. So for example, if I store a integer value, so it will become an integer data type. So that's what we have tested in the debugging. So before it was a string, now it is a integer type. Okay, so this much simple, declaring a variable in the Python. But if you consider any other programming language, we should mention the type. For example, if you mention this as a int, but if you are going to store as a string value, then it will throw the error in other program. But whatever the type of data we are going to store in this variable, so that variable will become that type of data type. Okay. Also, we can cast the variable. So what is casting? So casting means we want to convert from one type of data to another type of data. So for example, I am storing file, but I want to convert this to string. So then I have to use str of file. So then Harsha, it will become a string value. Now it will print 5 only. Now we'll debug the code. So when we step over, so here it is not showing as a integer. This is a string type. So because we casted to string. So this Harsha is a string value. So in the same way, we can cast to float also. So when we cast to float, it will become a 3.0. Also, there is a one method we can check what is the type. So it means integer type or float type or string type. So like that, we can check that variable type also. So we can use the type method and we should pass that variable name. So it will tell what type of variable this Harsha. So it will not print the value. So I am going to store the value 5. So 5 is the integer type. Okay, now if you step over, so it will print the type of that variable name. So this is the integer type. So that's why it is showing class int. Example, if it is a float value, it will show float. If I mention it as a